You're listening to the Weekend Sport Podcast with Jason Pine from News Talk ZB. Football Fever with News Talk ZB's voice of football, Jason Pine and Bonnie Jansen.
Yes, it is. Thank you for joining us. This is Football Fever, your weekly podcast for all things New Zealand football. I'm Jason Pine. Bonnie Jansen's here. How you doing, Bonnie?
Still top of the table, baby.
Absolutely, but that gap is narrowing. We can talk about that in a moment and what the implications might be. No game for the women over the weekend, so we're going to focus mainly on the men today. As you say, Bonnie, over the weekend, the Phoenix men stretching their unbeaten run to 9 matches. A 0-0 draw away at Perth on Saturday night. A good result when you've got to go that far to come home with a point, do you think?
Yeah, it is a really far match to play. What do they call it? The distance derby or something like that.
That's it.
So yeah, I mean, we'll take a point for sure. Obviously, would have loved a win to kind of extend that lead at the top, but you know, I guess we'll take it. As you say, Perth have been on form at the moment, so yeah, happy with that point.
Absolutely. You know, Perth haven't lost since they lost to the Phoenix back in Unite round, so it's been a good run for them, and they're starting to, I guess, make a bit of a case for the top 6. Still a bit of work to do. As far as the Phoenix's lead at the top, it's now 3 points after the Mariners beat Melbourne Victory 1-0 in a completely mental game on Sunday evening, including 3 red cards. So Phoenix 37, Mariners 34, Victory 31, MacArthur 29, Western Sydney 28, they've got a game in hand. Sydney FC make up the top 6. They've got 27 points and also have a game in hand. And now there's a 4-point gap back to Melbourne City in 7th. So it feels like there's a bit of a separation happening. You asked me about or gave me some homework last week regarding how many more wins the Phoenix have to be assured of a place in the top 6. I'll get to that in a minute. But the game itself on Saturday night, a bit cagey. No Costa Barbarouses, Božidar Krajev and Oscar Zavada not able to start. Front 3 of Ben Old, David Ball and Finn Conchi, which was probably the biggest surprise. I don't think we'll ever see that again. Game changed in the second half. Giancarlo Italiano rolled the subs. Zavada, Krajev and Houston Salas all came on. It felt when they came on as though we were sort of looking at what might be the Phoenix's kind of strongest side. It was those 3. Rufer was there. Old was there, Costa and Pennington to come back. It's not a bad time, actually, to be missing players, is it, when you've still got a few round-robin games to go before the finals?
No, exactly. We're kind of building up to that, and you know, we've done really well to get in this position at the top of the table. Yes, we'd like to keep that position at the top of the table, but it's given Chiefy kind of, you know, an opportunity to see different combinations and see what works. And as you say, we might not see that front 3 again. But I'm kind of happy, you know. It's another young squad that goes out there and or starts the game anyway and comes away with a point. It's again just the depth in this team and the character as well to for these young players to go out there and get results is pretty impressive. But I hope that by the time, you know, towards the end of the season at the crucial point and the playoffs, that we've got all those senior players back.
Yeah, we've landed on a really good point, because if you look back to the start of 2024, the Phoenix's last loss was in their final game of 2023 to Sydney FC. But since that, 9 games, 4 wins and 5 draws, 14 goals scored and just 9 conceded. Now, in those 9 games, missing through injury or suspension at various times, Oscar Zavada for 5 games, Sam Sutton for 5 of those 9, Nicholas Pennington for 3, Tim Payne for 3, Alex Rufer for a couple, and Mohamed El Tay and Costa Barbarouses for a match each. So, you know, for the entire 9 games, I don't know whether Chiefy's had his best side to call on at all, and yet they've stayed at the top of the table for the last 8 weeks. And you know, it's I think we kind of need to acknowledge and recognise what Wellington have done, and not because, you know, they've had their best players available for the whole time. They've done it almost in spite of that, as you say, and having to bring youngsters in. Isaac Hughes had to well, not have to, but played again the other night and did a really good job in defence. So, yeah, the depth that's being built there and the way the academy players and the young players are stepping up and just fitting into the plan, it's been ultra impressive.
Oh, so impressive, and as you say, it's not like we've had this incredible run and 8 games at the top of the table with our strongest lineup, because we simply haven't. And I know you've got this in your notes to kind of touch on, Piney, but I just want to make a point of our back 5, and that's including our goalkeeper Alex Paulson. 4 out of the 5 of them, the only one being Scott Wooten, all of them are born and kind of raised and have grown up in the New Zealand grassroots system, and they're at the top of the A-League table. 3 of them are going to likely be at the Olympics for the Ollie Whites if they're young. Obviously there's also Tim Payne, but the fact that we've none of them are imports other again than of Scott Wooten. It's just amazing that they've kind of got this far with. Yeah, I don't know. That they've come from New Zealand is what I'm trying to say. Yeah,
no, the factory's working. The academy at Wellington Phoenix is working, and you're so right. You look at the, Kelly, Heald, Hughes, Paulson, Sermon, 4 of the players who played a big part in yet another clean sheet the other night are players that have come through the academy system in Wellington and have grown up playing their football here in New Zealand. So no, it's a very encouraging sight. An 8th clean sheet for that defence, the joint most in the comp. Fewer goals now conceded than anybody else, just 19 in 19 matches, just 1 let in the last 4 games. At the other end, I guess there's a little bit of concern around goal scoring. Just 7 goal scorers this season for Wellington, and of the 30 goals they've scored, the scorers of 21 of them didn't start on Saturday night. Barbarouses, Zavada, Kraev, they came on. Pennington wasn't there. I guess you'd say, okay, well, you'd probably like a bunch of other guys to be chipping in here and there. Like, for example, Adelaide, who the Wellington Phoenix play this weekend, have had 13 different goal scorers. Wellington have had just 7, but it doesn't seem to be affecting their position on the table.
No, and again, yeah, it is a little bit of a concern. Like when I raised a fortnight ago, was it a concern that Barbarouses hadn't been scoring for a while, and then he comes out and scores 2. I don't know if I'm too worried, because as you say, we've gotten to this point on the table in this really strong position with just those 7 goal scorers, and it seems in the games where we really need a result, I'm not sure about the weekend just been, but other players step up. So I'm not too worried. We say we're really liking Ben Old at the moment, and he's, done exceptional. He's great on the ball. He's created a lot of opportunities for the team. I'd like to see him start scoring some more goals now, and hopefully, at this crucial end of the season, we might see that. Yeah,
best player out there again for me, Ben Old, just terrific again, and getting raps from the from the commentators and from everybody who watched the game. He was just terrific again, and a big part of the Wellington Phoenix side. As we've said a couple of times, we should probably enjoy Ben Old while he's here, because it feels to me as though he's got a very high ceiling and maybe at some point, in fact, not maybe, but will at some point head offshore. Now, you asked me last week, how many more wins Wellington need to mathematically be certain of making the top 6? So if you look at just that homework assignment, just those maths, Melbourne City are currently 7th with 23 points from 18 games. So feasibly, they could get to 50 if they win all of their remaining games. Now, that's not going to happen, but mathematically, feasibly, they could. Phoenix have 37 points, so they'd need to win 5 more games to be safe of Melbourne City if they were to get to 50. But it's a very false view, because it would also need every team below them to also win the majority of their remaining games, which won't happen because a bunch of them are against each other. So a better way to look at it, and I hope you don't mind that I changed the homework assignment here.
Okay.
I had a look at how many points you typically need to make the top 6.
Nice.
Historically, and across a 26 or 27 game season, which has been the case for the last dozen campaigns. So in 7 of the last 12 seasons, the Phoenix's current tally of 37 points would have been enough to make the top 6, and there's still 8 games to go. So in 7 of the last 12, in all of the 12 dating back to 2011-12, the most points a 6th place side has ever got is 41. So again, the Phoenix currently have 37. History tells us over the last 12 years that 41 gets you there, and the Phoenix are 37. So
So we're basically there.
Well, it seems like it, doesn't it? And again, I think we need to now start thinking about the narrative that we take with this side. Not, isn't it amazing what they're doing? Isn't it incredible that they're at the top of the table? We can't believe we're talking about this. And start to think about what might be possible for this team. They are one of the better A-League teams going around. They're certainly the best defensive side going around. If they can start to add a bit more creativity and cutting edge up top, get some of those players back like Zavada and Kraev and others, then I honestly believe that something special is possible from this side.
Absolutely, and I think another thing is we need the fans starting. I mean, there's obviously the loyal Wellington Phoenix fans, the Yellow Fever that have been there through and through every season, but we need, you know, a bigger fan base to start catching on now, like we saw with the Warriors last year. That really helped them get through that kind of bitter end of the season, and I think just any extra noise at home games and extra support behind them is going to be massive, and we really need that kind of 12th man for the team. So this is basically my call. You know, now's the time to get behind the Knicks if you're not already jumped on the bandwagon, because I reckon they're going to do something great this season.
Yeah, the bandwagon is of infinite size, and for those who can make it to the game in the Wellington region, the next opportunity is this coming Sunday afternoon at 5 when the Phoenix take on Adelaide United. As I understand it, pre-sales are the strongest they've been all season, so that's a good sign for a big crowd. Difficult season for Adelaide. They're on a 5-game winless run, just one win in their last 9, and they're down in 10th place, 8 points outside the top 6. This is a team that normally makes the finals. They've made the finals in 5 of the last 6. They've got very dangerous players, the brightest young talent in the competition, Nestori Irankunda, Japanese striker Hiroshi Ibisuki, Ben Halloran, although he's suspended. But when 10 plays 1 at the home of 1, you'd expect 1 to win, particularly, Bonnie, as you say, if there's a good crowd there to help get the Phoenix across the line again.
Oh, yeah, we'll be all right. You know, we're top of the table. No worries, Piney. We'll be another 3 points in the bag.
I love the confidence. Just before we move on to the women, Yellow Fever and LFC Wellington are running a food bank drive for the Wellington City Mission at the game on Sunday. It's called Mission 11 and targets their 11 most required items. This is the Wellington City Mission and their food bank. I'm just going to tell you what the items are, because if you can bring any of them along on Sunday, Yellow Fever and LFC Wellington will gladly take them off you and pass them on to Wellington City Mission. So the items that are most needed by the City Mission and their food bank: canned fish, instant noodles, baking products, cleaning supplies, muesli bars, spreads, shampoo and conditioner, canned soup or canned meals, soap, laundry powder, and sanitary products. So if you can provide any of those on Sunday, just bring them along to the game, drop them in the buckets that Yellow Fever and LFC Wellington will have, and that would certainly help out the Wellington City Mission. Terrific initiative by Yellow Fever and LFC Wellington.
Football Fever with Jason Pine and Bonnie Jansen.
So no game for the Phoenix women over the weekend just gone with the international break. Back in action, though, this weekend. They play 4th-placed Melbourne Victory on Sunday at 4 in Melbourne. 6 games to go for the Phoenix women. They're 9th, 4 points outside the top 6, 18 precious points still up for grabs, 3 games at home, 3 away. It kind of feels like this is going down to the wire, doesn't it?
Yeah, and just the fact you saying, you know, they're playing away in Melbourne, it's so upsetting, you know. We just can't. We haven't won a game over in Australia this season, right?
Just the one.
Just one. Yep. One, right. Okay. Still, not good enough, frankly, and considering where and how we were playing at the start of the season, you know, we were hoping this wouldn't happen, but as you said, everything's still left to play for, and they can definitely get in those playoffs. There's no reason why they can't with the roster they've got. So I really hope they can sort it out. They've had a good break, and yeah, fingers crossed they can get the job done.
Well, everybody's back, right? It feels as though Mariana Speckmeyer, I guess, is the only player where there might be a little bit of a question mark, apart from the long-term injured players that we know about. Mariana Speckmeyer missed the last game against Western United through injury, and there are a bunch of other players away with the football ferns. Everybody is back. Annalie Longo might have a little injury concern because she came home from Samoa injured, so there might be a little question mark there. But by and large, they should have, or Paul Temple should have, a pretty fit roster to choose from. Yes, Melbourne Victory are a good side. They're currently sitting in fourth on the ladder. But let's not forget that the Phoenix drew 2-2 with Melbourne Victory when they met earlier on this season. That was, admittedly, at home in Porirua, but there's no time like the present, and games really are running out. You know, if you just say, okay, we're going to try and win our home games, then that might not even be enough. So no. I think they're not necessarily playing at the last chance saloon every time they go out, but they should probably be treating every game like a knockout game, which they probably do anyway. And look, if they can pick up a few points on the road and win their home games, that should be enough to squeak them into the six.
Yeah, I think it's about an attitude shift as well. You know, I can't say what they're thinking, but what it feels like is they've kind of got into this routine that they're not going to win overseas, and I think they've just got to wipe that slate clean now and go in with that mindset that it's like a playoff game, as you say, and the fact that Melbourne Victory is quite far ahead of them on the table doesn't matter, because that Women's A-League competition has actually been quite competitive this year, and there's not a lot of points between the teams, so I wouldn't worry about that. You know, they've picked up points off great teams. So, there's no reason why they can't go out and get 3 points, or at least a point across the ditch this weekend.
I think a point would be a big confidence boost for them. If they got a point there, they then go straight on to Perth, who they beat earlier in the season, again at home. And their other away game is against Canberra United, who they also beat, admittedly, at home. So they know they can beat these teams, or at least compete with these teams who they have to travel to. So, yeah, I think a point against Melbourne Victory would be a very good result. And then they can build on that in the final 5 games of the season, 3 of which, by that point, will be at home. Now, you watched the Matildas play Uzbekistan on, that was, Saturday evening, I think it was? Yep. The first of 2 legs in an Olympic qualifier. The Matildas are 12th in the world. Uzbekistan are in the high 40s. So this all pointed really to Australia winning quite comfortably across 2 legs. They won 3-0, but it took them a while, didn't it, to get goals?
Yeah, well, I kind of came into the office on Sunday and was kind of like, what happened? They were expected to win in double digits, but then on reflection, I thought later in the day, you know, that's what we expected from the Ferns in their first Olympic qualifier match, for them too to win in double digits. But clearly both Australia and New Zealand needed a little bit of time to warm up. So yeah, they'll take the result and the 3 goals, but it was obviously very exciting because Michelle Heyman, who I think it's been 4, 5 plus years that she's been in the Matildas, and she's been called back in because of her kind of performance in the A-League with Canberra United, and she came on and scored a goal in the opening goal for the Matildas. So that was really awesome, especially considering Sam Kerr. We all know, obviously, Sam Kerr, she's done her ACL and she's out for the Paris Olympics, if they're to qualify, which is a massive loss for Australia. So they're looking for another kind of forward striker to play up there in her place. But in saying that, I'm confident for the Matildas because, you know, they proved at the World Cup that they can do it without Sam Kerr. So hopefully they go on. I think they're a real medal shot at the Olympics. Yeah, goals are the currency. Michelle Heyman's got plenty in the A-League, as you say. One off the bench for Australia. It'd be pretty hard to leave her out if she scores goals, and hopefully she'll get a few more from Australia's point of view anyway. In the second leg, I can't see Uzbekistan pulling back a 3-0 deficit in League 2 back in Australia. So I think we can safely say that the Matildas will be off to Paris. We look forward to seeing whether someone like Michelle Heyman might be on that plane.
The FFP with Piney and Bonnie.
Quick look at Kiwis overseas. Another big game for Libby Cacace and Empoli in Serie A. He played 88 minutes as they grabbed a last gasp 3-2 win over Sassuolo. They're now unbeaten in their last 6 Serie A matches. And from a point where they were really deep in the mire, they're up to 13th now, 5 points clear of the relegation zone. And in the 6 matches that they've gone unbeaten, Libby's played all of them. 4 of them are starts. So he's really entrenching himself at Empoli. 90 minutes for Nico Kerwin as Padova won a 3rd straight Serie C match. That's the 3rd tier in Italian football. Logan Rogerson has debuted for his new club in Armenia, FC Noah. He came on at half-time and played the entire second half. And interested to see Bonnie football Fern striker Gabby Rennie. Last time we spoke, she was unattached, having finished in the college system in the US. She has her first pro deal, signing for Åland United. Now, this is the club that Jackie Hand played for off the coast of Finland. This is the one where you get the overnight boat to the mainland to play your league games, your away games. So good to see Gabby Rennie with a professional deal.
Yeah, that's firstly insane, but yeah, secondly, really stoked for Gabby. I understand she didn't get a whole lot of minutes during her kind of years at college in the US. She's obviously been a regular in the Football Ferns camp, kind of squad coming off the bench. So hopefully, it looks like she'll probably be replacing Jackie in that team, and because she's obviously moved on, and hopefully we can see her get some good minutes, because I think that's what our Kiwi footballers need is minutes overseas and at their clubs. So that's the most important thing, and obviously goals, because we know the Football Ferns need to work on their goal scoring.
Absolutely, and you're so right. The message from Jitka Klimkova and from Darren Baisley to his All Whites male players is get minutes at your club. That is the best thing you can do to force my hand, is to play regularly for your club. And as you say, in the case of someone like Gabby Rennie, if she starts to play regularly, scores goals, if Jitka Klimkova's waking up on this side of the world on a Sunday morning, looks at the scores and sees, Gabby Rennie's got a couple of goals for Orlando United, then all of a sudden she is pressing her case. And you're right, she's been in and around the Football Ferns for a while, never really getting an opportunity to start regularly, more of an impact player off the bench. And she's got a goal here or there, but consistency is what's required from the likes of Gabby Rennie, Jackie Hand and others. Grace Jarley's another one, obviously, India Page Riley, the Millie Clegg when she gets going. The best thing these players can do, surely, is to play well for their clubs and to start getting their name. When you look at a score and you see a Ferns player as one of the goal scorers, it's the best possible thing you can do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if this is harsh, and I'm not talking about Gabby in particular, just for any player in that matter, but I don't think it's necessarily fair or the right thing to do to be calling up a player to a national team that hasn't been playing. I mean, it's different for perhaps someone like a goalkeeper, but men's or women's, or whoever for that matter. I think we need to be pulling in players who are playing at whatever level, obviously at a high enough level, but they need to be playing. So I hope that is the case for Gabby at her new club. Yeah,
match fitness. Exactly right. Yeah, if you're pulling somebody into a international camp and they've hardly played, then it's a bit difficult to ask them to go out and perform for you when they're just short of match minutes in their legs. So all the best to Gabby Rennie at her new club in Finland. Just to finish, the new domestic football season kicks off on Sunday. The return of the New Zealand Football Charity Cup. This hasn't been played for since 2020. What it is, it's like the Charity Shield in the UK. You have the league winner against the cup winner. So National League champions Wellington Olympic hosting Chatham Cup winners Christchurch United. This game happening at Martin Lucky Park in Wellington, Sunday afternoon at 1:00, so well before the Phoenix men's game. Free entry, an optional charity donation, as the name would suggest, the Charity Cup. And as the home side, Wellington Olympic have selected Heart Kids New Zealand as their nominated charity. So any donations on the day will go to Heart Kids New Zealand. Interesting day for Paul Eiffel. He's the coach now of Wellington Olympic. He's just taken on that job, and his first assignment is his former side, Christchurch United, who he's guided. Yeah, well, I mean, knowing Paul Eiffel like I do a little bit, I think he'll be looking forward to the challenge. But, I mean, for Christchurch United, you probably go there thinking, man, their coach knows all about us. How would that be? Yeah,
that's such a tricky one. But yeah, it makes the game even more exciting and probably a good curtain raiser for the Wellington Phoenix. I've kind of been involved in the domestic football scene for some time, and I reckon it's some of the best football around, so that game will be exciting. Yeah, and marking the start of another, we hope, exciting domestic season here in New Zealand as 2024 gets underway. All right, well, we're right into the teeth of it now, Bonnie. We're in the run-in for both the men and the women in the A-Leagues, and as I say, the winter season starting with internationals coming up for the All Whites and also for the Football Ferns as they head towards Paris. Lots to be chatting about, so let's have a wee breather for a week, and we'll catch up again next Monday.
Football Fever on iHeartRadio. For more from Weekend Sport with Jason Pine, listen live to News Talk ZB weekends from midday, or follow the podcast on iHeartRadio.